Of course, people once again are up in arms about Izuku and his quirk. I'm getting tired of it, honestly. I mean, I understand why some were worried last week. I mentioned it, I talked about it, I clarified. So, I mean, I'm not going to get back into what I said last week. But people are upset with this chapter because Izuku is using Black Whip. Now, there's a lot of things that I can use to clarify how he's using it, and I'm going to do that. I wish people would stop jumping to conclusions, instantly hating on something, or being extremely upset when they are not really looking at all of the details or facts that's been laid before them in this chapter and previous chapters of the series. So, let's get into it. Izuku did use Black Whip at the end of this chapter, okay? And yes, it was just revealed Izuku has like 6 other quirks to use, okay? So that's a lot of quirks, and there's going to be a lot of variety to Izuku's moveset. It's going to be ridiculous. I mean, Izuku's already done a lot of crazy stuff just with One For All and his movements with the shoot style and all of that. I mean, he's come a long way. He has learned a lot. And when you look at Izuku as an individual, all of his fighting styles, everything he's used to fight with, is normally taken from the people around him. Like, fighting with his fist was kind of taken from All Might. His ability to dodge or maneuver somewhat in the air was thanks to Bakugo. You know, his different moves with his legs was thanks to Ida. You know, you have it to where, you know, Izuku has always been an individual that has taken from others to be able to apply to himself to be a better hero. That's what it's always been about. That's what he's always done. In a way, he's kind of like a thief of, you know, skills and all that, which I can't fault the man. I mean, if you could take from others, for instance, you know, learn their abilities and perform better with them, by all means, go for it. I mean, it's obviously working for Izuku. He's had to do what he's had to do to be able to get as far as he has. He's went through a lot of mental stress to get to this very point. And so, many being upset with Izuku using the Black Whip, you know, quirk ability, is not understanding everything. Number one, like I just said, Izuku, he's always been an individual that can kind of replicate things from other individuals. He can take their fighting style and apply it to himself in his own unique way. But also, we need to look at another point of view from this. Just because Izuku had Black Whip pop out, doesn't mean that he's actually using it properly. And here we go. So, the chapter ends right when Black Whip pops out. Like, you see Izuku have the Black Whips pop out, chapter ends, cliffhanger. And in this moment, you have to look at it like this. It's kind of like pausing an episode right before a transformation or right when an ability is being used, and you're like, oh, this is OP, and then all of a sudden, you know, the ability fails and everything goes haywire and the MC loses or the character loses. That's what could potentially happen here. You remember when One For All was first activated, when Izuku first activated One For All, and he used it in the, you know, the training or like the exam to be able to get into UA. You remember he broke his freaking arm. He was like a ragdoll floating through the sky or falling to the sky until he was saved. You know, that's when he really first used One For All. So you gotta imagine him using Black Whip for the first time is probably gonna come with some repercussions. It's not going to be easy. Just because he can activate it does not mean that he's going to be able to use it right. I mean, look at One For All. Perfect example. He can activate it anytime he wants. He can go full 100% mode with it. But we know that's not a good idea, because if he does, his bones snap. His entire body snaps. He doesn't want to be a glass cannon. So that's the point here. Just because he activated Black Whip doesn't mean that he has perfect control, mastery of it, and he's about to wipe everybody out in the battlefield. Just because he activated it doesn't mean he's even using it right. I mean, for all we know, him grabbing everything he did in the air, he might instantly snap everything because of how strong One For All has made Black Whip, that it just destroys everything, and his, you know, whip just goes through it, and then, you know, they go haywire and they hit the walls or whatever. I mean, you gotta look at it from that perspective, that, you know, just because activation happened doesn't mean he's mastered it or he's using it properly. Because, once again, think about, you know, One For All. Another thing, too, is Black Whip is not going to be fully mastered. Even if Izuku is, hypothetically, using it and he's able to use it to grab things, it doesn't mean that he's using it at full potential. Let's look at what was stated in the last chapter, but also this chapter. Him activating it is still technically using a percentage of One For All. So, example, as we know, Izuku is now basically at 20%. He can use One For All at 20%, and that's as far as he really can go right now. He might be able to push it somewhat, but overall, 20% is his limiter for the time being. And the same could be applied to Black Whip. Remember what Funky said in the last chapter. Black Whip, or all the quirks, have been boosted by One For All. Their power is unimaginable. Way stronger than when they first came about a part of One For All. When they were first integrated into the quirk, they're way stronger now. And so the point stands here is that Black Whip is right now running on low power mode. Izuku is using a lower powered version of Black Whip compared to what it's capable of. Because when you look at what happened in the previous chapter, when Izuku's quirk started going out of control and Black Whip popped out like a laser, that was probably the full extent, or maybe a portion of what it's capable of. Maybe 50%, 20%, we don't really know. But the point is that Black Whip is definitely stronger than what it appeared in this chapter. And so, Izuku's toning down the power. He's trying to tone it down, which that means, once again, not perfect mastery of it. He could probably easily go over his limit because he doesn't really even know where the limiter is at. Maybe he's going 5% right now, but he doesn't know he's going 5%. Maybe he feels like he's going 1%. You know, he doesn't have a good grasp on where his power's at with the whip. But I also want to take a moment. The reason why he was able to even summon the whip and use it was thanks to thinking about Funky. And it's like, the dude is a lot like All Might. Remember what the dude said. The emotions in your heart and all that, how you feel, will determine kind of if you can utilize these quirks. And so in that moment, when he was thinking of Funky, and he was reminded of All Might, it was kind of like he was tapping in to, you know, Funky's power, because his personality was very reminiscent of All Might. That's why he was able to activate it. So that's the first reason. He used what was told to him in the previous chapter, how to use it. So anyone that's complaining about it, honestly, is just jumping to conclusions rather quickly and should wait. Now, if he has perfect mastery of it in the next chapter, you know what? I will agree. I'll say, okay, that's bad, but I'm not going to judge it until I see it. So anyways, with that out of the way, let's talk about the other nitty-gritty details of the chapter. Mineta. Mineta is probably going to be a big point of discussion for this chapter. I could see many being upset with Mineta, because he is definitely a disliked character in the My Hero Academia fan base. When it comes to the community, people don't like Mineta. They don't, because he's a pervert, what he does is messed up, and just, he's garnered a lot of hatred. I mean, thinking back on how people reacted to him in the anime, I know for a fact people, at least when the anime finally gets to this part of the series, I know people are going to hate Mineta even more than they did in the past because of what he did in this chapter. And so, seeing our girl Alien Queen get treated like she did by Mineta, I know people are going to be upset. I personally don't care, but I see others being upset, not focusing on what Mineta did for the team. And a little bit more details to his quirk ability. Mineta's able to pop off the balls from his head to be able to stick them to any surface. And if anyone touches them, they're stuck to it until Mineta obviously removes it himself, or unless the quirk is so powerful that it can overpower its effect. And so Mineta's quirk is pretty freaking strong. It's a really strong quirk. It's been strong since it was first introduced, and when you look at it, you're like, this man was even able to overpower Midnight. So his quirk has never been in the realm of useless or weak. And so seeing what he did was very ingenious, because we know when Mineta, you know, grabs the balls that he rips from his head, they actually repel him. He actually can bounce from them. He bounces back. It's like the opposite of what happens to when people touch them. So him using them like a trampoline all throughout the battlefield is very smart. It reminds me a lot of Gentle's fighting style. You remember how Gentle, how he's able to create air trampolines and all that? That's kind of what, you know, Great Boy, Mineta, was doing. He was creating trampolines, and what we saw from Gentle and how he was able to do things he did, I feel like Mineta might be able to do something very similar. and maybe even more powerful because of how his speed was building up in this chapter. I mean, he was bouncing so quickly in this chapter from all of his, little balls from his head all over the battlefield, and he was just going all over the place, really pinning everyone down from Class B. So he has a scary quirk, and using it like he did was pretty smart, and we know for a fact Mineta is one of the smartest students in the class, so seeing what he did is a no-brainer. So I'm actually pretty proud of Mineta. Regardless of the fan service and all that, I'm pretty proud of Mineta. Now looking at the other characters, let's look at Monoma. I love Monoma's brief little monologue that he had in this chapter, when he's like, I obviously have not walked the straight path. I'm not as noble as everyone else, and I can't be the protagonist, the main character of the story. But he's like, at the same time, I want to be that person that sometimes outshines the protagonist as the support character. And in that moment when he, popped up like he did trying to take Izuku's quirk, or, copy it, it was a great moment for his character, just showing how he realizes that he will never be able to be number one. He knows that. He knows without the help of others, he will never be able to do anything. He needs someone else that's very strong with a strong quirk to achieve something. So Monoma, I feel bad for him. He realizes he will always be support. He'll never be number one, maybe number two, but he'll never be number one. He'll be a background character. He's fine with that, but he does want the joy of when he does outshine everyone else and uses their quirk probably even more efficiently than, the actual original owner of the quirk does. That's what he wants to do. So when he snatches One for All, I love Izuku's expression. And he's like, wait, he swiped it? It's a great moment because Izuku's look of shock was scary because he's like, oh no, he got my quirk. And I don't think, Izuku was upset that his quirk was snatched. He was more scared for Monoma because he knows how powerful One for All is. You use that quirk wrongly, it's going to hurt you. Not just people around you, but yourself. Izuku is very aware of this. So in that moment, he had no idea what was going to happen, and he was scared. And when Monoma tried to use it, you see Ochako pin him down, throw him to the ground. And she's like, obviously he didn't, swipe your quirk. And he's like, wait, it was a dud? That's what Monoma himself says. But I actually have a theory about this and why Monoma wasn't able to do anything. Monoma did snatch One for All. Like, he did copy it. But the thing is he didn't copy the stockpiling. Let me explain. See, One for All, the reason why it's so strong right now is because of many generations it's been around, that being passed on to the next person. And so, obviously, because of that, you have it to where when Monoma swiped it, he probably got the base form of One for All. He might have gotten all the other quirks added on, like, Black Whip, but its power would be at a similar state to when it was first applied to One for All. So he was in base form, beginning form, One for All. He had no stockpile power after All Might, etc., etc. He was at the bare strength minimum as the first user of One for All. And that is why Ochako was able to overpower him like that in that moment. Now, there is a possibility that he might not have access to the other quirks, like, for instance, Black Whip, because it wasn't truly passed on, and maybe it is just the standard base form of One for All. Whatever the case may be, I think the reason why he wasn't able to overpower anyone was because, like I said, it didn't have the stockpile power attached to it when he swiped it. So, let's also talk about Aizawa's decision. So, Aizawa, he stated that he doesn't want to stop the match. He wants the match to keep going. He doesn't want Class A and Class B to have, their match stopped. He wants to see who will come out on top because Izuku and all of them have not given up on this. They want to keep going, and so that's why he's allowing it to go. However, he is battle ready. He is ready to stop the fight if something does go down. I mean, when you see how Izuku confronts, Shinzo, he's ready right in that moment to stop the fight if Izuku's quirk does go out of control. So overall, I think this is a very good chapter. I love all the setup. It has a lot of good little scenes here and there, and I can't wait for the next chapter. Hopefully people stop freaking out about Izuku's new quirk evolution of One for All. But anyways, guys, I love you. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And with that, Chibi out.